Hello and good morning, Year 12. Hope you're all well and had a really good week. Today's assembly is going to be on UCAS and the personal statement. So there's lots of information today for you to go through this PowerPoint. For some of you might be thinking, well, it's not relevant to you because you might think you might not be applying to university. But for lots of you, you probably will be looking at applying for university. And even if you're not, actually writing a personal statement or a letter of application is really useful, and thinking about how you can sell yourself to prospective employers when you're looking for apprenticeships, traineeships, high-level apprenticeships, degree apprenticeships, and lots of different options. Normally in term 6 we would focus on a lot of your career advice and guidance, and we will continue to do that for the rest of the remaining weeks of this term as we move towards the end of term. So I mentioned in term 6 we would normally be doing the UCAS process, and some of you who I've been meeting on your MS Teams tutorials I've been talking about what's your next steps this time next year. And there's two dates that we need to be bearing in mind when we're thinking about decisions for university. The first one there is October the 15th, and that's for courses in medicine, dentistry, veterinary medicine, Oxford and Cambridge. Those applications need to be completed quite early. The second one is the 15th of January. Now, we don't want to leave it till that date. Normally you would have probably already started your personal statement by now, but we know that obviously this term is very different to what it normally is, so don't worry about that for the moment. Basically, the starting process is really where we're here, where you're completing the application form, and what happens is that application form, we add a reference from it from your teacher and predicted grades, and then UCAS send that to the universities, and then the universities kind of reply kind of with offers and different things for you for September, October 2022 it will be when you actually do your applications. So this is the process we go through, but again I'm going to talk to you today about the personal statement. So there are 7 sections on the UCAS form. What we're going to focus on today is the personal statement. The other sections are really important, and they are different in the way that you can actually just go through and work through those yourselves when you look at Mrs. Earnshaw's guide and book that she's going to send to you. But the personal statement is one where it's a really, some students can find it quite challenging because they have to write about themselves, and today's assembly is really going to give you some top tips and trying to help you about the personal statement. So the personal statement is 4,000 characters long. It sounds a lot, but actually once you get writing about yourself and your achievements, and why you love your subject and why you want to go to university, a lot of students will actually write more than that, and your tutor's job and my job and Mrs. Earnshaw's job is to really cut that personal statement down, so it's only 4,000 characters long. All the other bits of information on your UCAS application is the university gathering data on you. So, lots of information from where you live to the schools that you've been, to your examination grades and results. This really is about you, the personal statement, about you kind of showing them and telling them about you as a person, what you've achieved, what you will bring to their university, and why you want to study their subject. So it will take a number of drafts. So some people talk about 7 or 8 drafts of this personal statement, and it is for some it's a very challenging thing to do, to write about themselves and what they've achieved. But our job and your tutor's job is to really help you with that. So don't think you're going to just sit down in one sitting and do it straight away. It's going to be a work in progress, and you've got to be prepared to plan and practice with this. So 2 things where you're starting with your personal statement, and some of you might want to mind map these and just put them down on a bit of paper, a bit of knowledge organizers, but I think almost it's kind of splitting your page in 2 at the moment and just start roughly jotting down some ideas. Why have you chosen the course? And don't worry about not finding the right words, just write things down about why you want to study history or physiotherapy or nursing or English, we want to study English literature. Why have you studied it? Why do you love the subject so much that you want to study it for another 3 years? What was really grasps your interest in the subject? And then secondly, but why should the university choose you? What makes you a great student? And this is where you have got to sell yourself. What have you achieved in your 5 or 6 years of HEALS? What have you achieved outside of school, not just in school, but what opportunities have you had outside of school? Because we want to know about you as a person, and everybody has got something positive to write in that bit about why university should choose you, about all the successes that you've had while you've been at school. So, good ideas. First of all, write it early, get people to check it. That's really important. Focusing on the subject. Obviously, if you're doing math and you love maths, you wouldn't spend the whole paragraph talking about how you got grade 8 in the piano, because the tutors who are reading your personal statement love their subject. Okay, so they obviously share your passion for the subject as well. In particular, show what you've learned about supercurricular learning. What TED Talks have you watched? What books have you read? What journals have you read? What documentaries are you watching? So that you show that actually I'm not just learning about what I'm learning in the classroom, I'm actually learning about other things outside. Okay, so it's that supercurricular, which is absolutely key as well. So some of you might be looking at different courses that you might be applying for. So for example, you might be looking at civil engineering and maybe marine engineering, or you might be looking at physiotherapy and sports therapy. So they might be slightly different. So you want to be hopefully you're choosing courses that are quite similar, but you also need to make sure if you are choosing two different courses that your personal statement fits for those two courses. Write it as a Word document. Make sure you save it. You might want to save it to the OneDrive. You might want to save it to a hard copy as well. There are lots of students in the past who have worked incredibly hard on their personal statement and then lost it. So working on it in a Word document, that is the only time then you will actually cut and paste it onto the UCAS application when it's completely finished. So we're going to look through some examples in the next couple of slides, but as a general rule, 3/4 of the personal statement should be academic, while just a quarter is there for your non-academic. So it's really about the subject. So if you're looking to study maths, what it is about maths that really interests you and motivates you and wants you to study it for 3 years. What TED Talks have you been watching about maths? What books have you been reading? What journals have you been doing? What extracurricular have you been doing about maths? And then the last quarter really is about that non-academic, about you as a person and what you're going to bring to their university. But ideally you're applying for a maths degree or a history degree or a geography degree or a nursing degree. So 3/4 of that needs to be about the actual subject itself. So I'm going to give you some examples on here, and obviously you can come and speak to your tutors many have been sixth form tutors for a number of years and been through this process a number of times. For myself, I've probably read over about 500 personal statements. It's a bad idea to plagiarize. Okay, so the worst thing you can do now is to Google personal statements and kind of then start lifting sentences from it. Now, UCAS uses a screening technique where they just kind of run personal statements through a computer so they can pick up those kind of statements. So please, it's your personal statement. It's about you. Don't start taking things from websites or other people's ideas. And then the most important thing is just to not repeat information. There's no point talking about your GCSE grades or any information that's in your personal sections on the UCAS statement. There's no point writing about that because you want to be having the opportunity to write as much as you can about you and why you want to do the course. So more bad ideas, don't lie. That's the worst. Don't name universities, and also one thing you can't do is you can't mention money in there as well, just in case you were trying to bribe the universities. And there's a YouTube link there to kind of look for some other kind of ideas to help you with your personal statement. So, thinking about the structure then, we're talking about academic, more academic, even more academic, and then you've got your non-academic and your final flourish, summing up what makes you a great student and why you should be well suited to the course. So if you're starting your personal statement today and starting to plan your personal statement, okay, some of those questions there are where you might kind of start to put your planning, if you want to do your mind map or your knowledge or your personal statement organizer about how you want to do it there. So you want to be focused on why do you love the subject, why do you want to continue studying it, parts of your A-level courses that have inspired you, a bit of super curricular. Maybe focus on today on just writing some of those things down. And maybe, actually, if you're really struggling to think about why you want to study law at university, then actually, is that really the right course for you? If you can't actually write that down and articulate that down and communicate that down on a bit of paper for maybe 10 or 15 minutes, then you've got to question kind of, what's your motivation for going to university and studying these courses? So the start of the personal statement. My advice normally is to students to say, don't worry about the start to begin with. Go on and write more about your academic and what you've achieved. But you're going to have to write the opening lines to your personal statement at some point, and it's really difficult because you kind of want something that catches the eye of the reader. You want something that doesn't sound ridiculous, and actually you want it to sound honest about you with the subject. And you'll kind of search for those words, and remember that the tutor has probably read thousands of personal statements, and that obviously you need to kind of make sure the start of that is really clear. Some things you might want to avoid is start with, I have a passion for history, because it's a bit of a cliche. I've always wanted to study, history. It's a bit like, obvious. And also then about exaggeration and quotes is another one. A lot of students use quotes, and quotes are fine. Some people like quotes to start with, some people don't. But it's also kind of thinking about, it's got to be honest and got to be about you. That's the most important thing. And obviously I can't say this is the most perfect statement, because there is no perfect statement to open your personal statement, and that's why it's about you and your relationship with the subject. So that's why we say let the truth guide you about why you want to study that subject in those opening lines. So now what I'd like you to do is just to read through the next couple of slides, looking at good academic paragraphs, ones that obviously could need a bit of improvement, and then good and bad non-academic paragraphs to give you some idea of the sorts of things you might want to include. There's some tasks there as well, and I want you just to work through these. So it's really good that you kind of read those and just think about what's good about them, a little bit of peer assessment, a bit of green pen on the personal statements, and then I will see you at the end of the PowerPoints. So I hope you have found those hints and tips useful about your personal statement. And remember, it's very difficult because although we can give you the structure and although we can give you the ideas, essentially it's your personal statement. And what I might say, I really like those things you put in your personal statement, your tutor or your parents or somebody else might not like. So it has to be about you. It has to be something you're comfortable with, about why you want to go to university and why you want to study your degree that you're looking to study. One thing I will say is don't be shy. Okay, be confident in terms of selling yourself. We find our Heal School students a lot in the past say to me, oh, I don't want to be arrogant or don't want to exaggerate anything I've done. It's not that at all. It's about kind of you selling yourself to your university. So lots of information today. Now, obviously, we will be going over this again in September, to help you, but it's really important you start making a plan now and start writing about your personal statement. It might even be that you might be struggling to write some things down, so you might use the summer to think, right, I'm going to watch some more TED Talks, I'm going to read some books about the subject I want to study, I want to look at some journals, I want to go on Google Scholar and start researching about my course, or researching about the university and what topics and they study. So, for example, if you are really interested in Roman history and you're writing about Roman history in your personal statement, and then the course you're applying for at Birmingham University doesn't do Roman history, obviously doesn't seem like a very good choice. So it's all about the research, it's all about the planning and preparing your personal statement, and it will not be perfect straight away. All right, and you will need lots of tweaking and lots of rewriting, but that's what we're here to do, and this is the start of that process. Hope you found that useful. I look forward to seeing you soon, and have a really good week. Bye bye.